Welcome everyone, I'm Alison with Continental Bead Suppliers. Thank you so much for joining me. I am a serious beachcomber anytime I have the opportunity to get to the sea. This ocean treasure necklace was inspired by the sand dollars and coral pieces that are sometimes washed ashore. To create the ocean treasure necklace, we will be using one Centerline Seed Bead Charm. The part number is K153 and it's reversible basically. So we're just going to have to keep an eye on what the front of the project is going to be. We're using this one in the gold finish. We will be needing 3 4mm 21 gauge jump rings. The part number for those is JR4. There'll be 18 inches of a flat O-link specialty chain, which is really pretty. The part number is CH-884. So I'm just going to move this one out of the way for now, along with the jump rings. The next thing we'll be using is a Lobster Claw. So this is a 9 by 5mm lobster. The part number is C901. About a gram of Miyuki size 11 seed beads in color A. So this is going to be the most little pile here. And just a pinch of color B, size 11 seed beads. And then just 5 Miyuki 6mm bugles. These are optional. You can just work with these 2 beads if you want. I just wanted to add another little dimension. As you can see here, you can see that these are actually a twisted bugle, so you can see them kind of mixed in with the seed beads as well. About 5 feet of the Miyuki thread. Again, just a little bit more than you might need, but it's easier than trying to start another thread. So if you can manage 5 feet, then I would suggest you do that. A size 12 or 13 beading needle. A pair of thread cutters here, and then 2 pairs of flat nose pliers. Okay. So let's begin. We're going to start in this channel here that falls just below the loop of the charm, and we're going to start with the seed beads. So what we need to do is we'll begin by putting the needle through the hole in this center little ring here that's sitting below the loop. So it's the center bit here. So pull the thread through and just leave yourself with about a 4 to 5 inch tail like that. This is just for fastening off at the end. It's just for weaving back through the beads actually, because I don't do any knotting or using glue, so this should work very nicely. We're going to then pick up two beads of color A, 1 of color B, and 2 more of A. We're going to go into, so from front to back, the little hole that's just below the loop. So just pull that through carefully. And just take your time with this so that we don't end up in a tangle. I always say that beading is not an Olympic sport yet, so we'll just take our time with it. Now we're going to come back up through the channel. So you see this channel next to it, the one with the seed beads in it. We're going to come from back to front, up through the channel. And you can see there. And then we're going to go back down through the beads again, all of the beads. Once again, just take your time with this. We're going to go front to back through that original little hole again. Again, just gently pull the thread through. Come from back to front up through the channel. Whoops. Don't let go of your needle. There we go. Back up through the beads again. And this is really just giving everything a good anchor to hold everything in place. Back down once again through that little hole there. From back to front, up through the channel again. And then come back down all 5 beads. Once more through the original little hole from front to back. Then we're going to have to come up through the second channel. We're going to be working in a clockwise direction. So the thread on the back through that little hole, what we need to do now is come up through the second little hole, heading round in a clockwise direction here. So bring the thread through. Now, as you can see on this one, we're going to pick up a bugle bead. So let's put a bugle onto the needle. And we're going to go down through the second hole on the perimeter here. Once again, we're going to come up through the channel from back to front. Down through the bugle bead. Front to back through that little hole again. So now we're coming on to the third channel. So because our thread's on the back here, you can see that we've formed one little thread bridge there. We need to make another thread bridge to be able to come up the third channel. So from back to front, you're coming up the third hole. Going to pick up 2 colour A, 1 colour B, and 2 more colour A seed beads. Going to go down through the third hole on the perimeter, so from front to back. Come from back to front up through the channel. Down through all the beads. And then down through that original little hole on the third channel. So we're going to move along to the fourth channel now. So we're coming from back to front, up through the little hole in the center for the fourth channel. This one's going to be a bugle, so we'll pick up the twisted bugle here and go down through the hole for that channel on the outside edge there. And we're going to come back up through the channel here. Down through the bugle once again. And back down through the hole for that fourth channel. Now on the fifth channel, we are going to be starting to do the coralling. So we're going to come from back to front, up into the little hole for the 5th channel. We'll pick up our 2 beads of color A, 1 of B and 2 more of A, and pop the needle down into the hole on the outside edge there. Okay, back up through the channel, just the same as we've been doing. Back down through the beads. And once again, down through the little hole in the center there, front to back. Up from back to front through the channel again. And back down through the beads. We'll actually go down through this outside hole once again. And now this is where the coraling is going to start. So we're going to pick up a total of 25 beads to make the first strand that's going to be coming down here. It can be a random assortment of the 2 colors that we've got here. I'm not going to use the bugle beads in this part, but you'll just kind of make your own call on that. So just have a look and see what I'm doing here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, and I'm going to finish with a gold one, 25. So just move everything down there. So you've got this strand of 25 beads on there. So we're going to go back up this strand, but we're going to miss the gold one. So that's going to work as an anchor point. Then you're going to start going up through the other beads. So you can do quite a few at a time. It's a little tricky to get started, but just have a little bit of patience with it. It always seems a little easier if the thread is taut. Some people will put the beadwork down on the mat and find it easier that way. It's a little tricky here because I've got a camera right in front of my face to see, so. And again, just always pulling gently so that you don't end up with knots and tangles. So let's just draw this. I will put this down here now and kind of put my finger on the gold bead at the end here and just gently pull that up, just so that it's nice and snug there. Now, because we came out of the hole on the back, I want to go into the hole on the front of this one because we're going to start adding the little branches of coral. So just so that this kind of connects everything together. So you can see that this is just kind of drawing up here like this. You don't want to pull it too tight, you want to let it have some fluidity to it. So we're going to come down through that top bead. We're going to come down 2 beads, I think. This is all going to, it's sort of very random really, but we'll do it in 2 so that we can start this branching here. So you can see that I'm coming out of that bead. So I'm going to pick up perhaps 7 beads altogether now. So from color A, and I'm just going to again mix things up a little bit. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then I'm going to finish on a gold one again. 7, and again this little gold one on the end is going to act as an anchor point. So I want to go back up through the other 6 beads. Just like that. Again, if you find it easier just to put this down on the mat a little bit and just see where you're at. So the bead that we came out of to form this first little branch, we want to go into the one that's below that on that main line. So we'll go down through 2 more beads here on this main line, and then we'll pick up perhaps 5 this time. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, actually, and we'll finish again on the gold bead. Once again, we'll use the gold one as the anchor point, so we'll just move that one out of the way and go back up through the other beads. Like that. Again, we can put it down, it's just easier to see sometimes. So you can see now we've got 2 little branches coming off this main line. So we'll continue on like this, and again the numbers are not too specific, but go somewhere between 5 and 7 beads on each branch. So we're going into the bead that's underneath the bead that we came out of on the main line. So we'll go down again 2 more beads, so you can see that. Pick up some more of the main color. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 can be the gold bead. Back up through these ones on the little branch. Again, we'll put it down so you can see where we're at. Back down through 2 more beads on the main line, and it's just working our way down here. So let me continue. Oops, can't see that. Let me continue on down here, and then I'll come back as we get down to the bottom. So here we are down at the bottom one. I've just put this last little section on here. So what we're going to do now is go back up through this main line so that we can move over to the next channel. So it's just a question of just threading back up with the needle through a straight line here. And again, you may be able to do it in one shot, or you may have to try a couple of different times, but you can see I've got that all the way through there, so just gently pull this through. And again, you don't want to have this too tight, you want it to have a nice drape to the coraling, so oftentimes it's better to use a thread like this rather than something like Fireline, which is a little bit more, is a little bit of a stiffer material, so there's at least a little bit of a drape. Don't worry about where these little branches fall, they'll actually just move around, so we've got that through. Again, watch that you don't double up on your thread there, so I'm just going to move the thread down a little bit so the tail doesn't get caught in this. Okay, so we're back up here. So what we're going to do is go down into this little hole here where the coraling is attached on. We're going to come back up through the channel because we've got to get to this inside ring of holes here, so we'll come back up through the channel. Then we've got to go up through the beads in this channel, so we end up back in the center again like this. Down through the little hole there. And then to be able to get over to this next channel, we're going to come from back to front through the next little hole. And then really it's just a case of repeating what we did on this side. So let me get started here. So we'll pick up, you can see on this one now it's going to be the bugle bead. So we're going to be going front to back through the next little hole on the outside edge of the charm. Just watch you don't get all tangled up in the coraling here. So remember, we're going back up through the channel. And just take your time on this so you don't get tangled up, because it's usually easier to not get into the situation in the first place. So through, back down, front to back, through that wee hole. Back up through the channel again. Go. Down through the bugle bead. And down through the hole on the outside edge, just the tiny little hole there. And then we're going to pick up and do exactly what we did on this little branch of coraling here. So I'm going to pick up the next 25 beads. So I'm going to be coming down in a straight line, putting the gold bead on the end, going back straight up, in through the little hole, and then we'll start coraling again. So rather than you watching me do this one, I'll complete this one and then I'll come back and get you started on the third one for the coraling. Okay? You can see I've now completed the second bit of coraling, so I've just put my needle up through the main line of beads again. We're going to move over to the third channel. So just like we did on the last one, we're coming out the last bead here and going down through the little hole just to anchor everything in place here. Then we're going to come up through the channel. Back up through the bugle bead. This really isn't a very difficult project at all. It's just a little bit fiddly, and really it's just being aware so that you don't get tangled up in these little bead fringes that are sitting here. So I've come out of the bugle bead. I'm going back down through the little round hole there. And once again, because we're working on the back here, you can see these thread bridges. We're going to come back up through the little hole here. It's hard to see sometimes with the reflection, but perhaps we'll just go on the back here and see. There we go. If you're unsure about this sort of technique in here, you can watch the other video that I had done, the starburst earrings. So that takes it a little bit slower, going around this, showing you a little bit more specifically about how to do it. But again, this is it's sort of straightforward once you've got into the rhythm of it. So we had the bugle bead here. We're going to do seed beads in this channel. So pick up 2 of the main color, 1 gold, and 2 more color A. Go down again through this little hole here. Back up through the channel. Up through the seed beads. Down through the wee hole here. Back up through the channel. Down through the beads again. Once again down through this tiny little hole on the outside edge here. And again we're going to pick up 25 more beads to form the straight line down and complete the coralling. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then I'll come back when we're ready to move on to the next channel. So here I am, just having finished the 3rd piece of coral. So I'm just coming back up through the length of beads again, the 25, well it won't be the 25, it's wherever you finished on the last little branch down here. So just pull this up. There we go. So remember, we're going down through this wee hole here. So that was front to back. Coming up through the channel. And back up through the beads that are in the channel. So all of those 5 beads. Don't go through the bugle bead that's... I'm going to use my pliers here just to bring the needle up a wee bit. There we go. Didn't want to go through the bugle bead that's opposite there. Again, with the reflections, sometimes it's a little challenging to see. Down through that center hole there. You can see I've still got the tail, the original tail here. So now we've got to bead this channel with the bugle. So I'm coming up through the hole in the back. So back to front. Again, watch all these little bits here from the coralling. Pick up the bugle. Down through that hole. Back up through the channel. Through the bugle. Down through the hole there, front to back. Move over to the next hole, a little hole on the back. And we're going to pick up, so the next pattern will be the 5 seed beads. So 2 of colour A, 1 of B and 2 more of A. So let's just move that around a little bit. Down through the little hole. So front to back, back up through the channel. So we're just coming to finish this all up through the beads again. Front to back through the wee hole. Up through the channel from back to front. Through the beads again, and I'm going to do this one more time because we're coming to the end of the work here. I just want to make sure that these bead holes are filled with the thread. I've split the thread there, so let's just take that back a bit. There we go. So again, once more, you can go through quite a few times to fill these in. So that was front to back through the hole, back up through the channel, through all the beads again. Again, that bugle on the other side, I'm going to use my pliers again. Down through the little hole in the center there. Whoops. There we go. And back up once again for the last time up through this little hole here to fill in the channel. So this one will have the bugle in it. So it's front to back through that hole, back to front up through the channel. Down through the wee hole, front to back again. Back up through the channel. Through the bugle. If you do get in a tangle, just take your time with it. I'm going to do that again. Front to back, back up through the channel. Down through the bugle. Back down through the hole. Now if we look at the back, we turn this over, you can see that all these thread bridges have now connected, and we've just got this one gap here. So we're going to use this thread, this working thread, and the tail just to close this gap, so that'll be completed then. So let's see where we are here. So I'm actually going to come across back up to this channel here that's just below the loop. I think that probably makes the most sense right now. So pull that through, back up the beads again. So I'm going to use my plier to push this through. This is quite full now, so I'm just going to cut this thread off once I've pulled this through. I think that will be just fine there. Okay, so that's that. Let's get the thread cutters. That's that one off. Whoops. Now I'm gonna have to thread this needle again. So again, I like to use the flat nose pliers just to make sure that the end is cut with a nice sharp ending. So sharp scissors or the thread cutters. There we go. So it threads quite, that's really good the way it threads quite nicely, even if you can't really see the eye of the needle, because these eyes are quite small. So let's see where I was. So I'm actually going to go over that same, no, I'm going to go anti-clockwise on this one just because it was a little tricky to get that thread through there, so I don't want to go too many times. So I'm actually going to go backwards with this, up through there. But you can see now all the thread paths have been done. I went over one too many. Let me take that out. My eyes aren't as good as they used to be. So I was over one too many. I want to go to the bugle rather than the seed beads there. So up through there. That's better. So that's nice and neat there. So back up through the bugle bead. Just push the bugle up from underneath if it gets stuck on the frame there. Down through the hole, back up through the channel, and back down through the bead once again, and then we'll snip the thread off. There we go. Okay, so now we can snip that one off. Let's put the needle out of the way. There we go. So that's this little element finished now, and we're ready to turn it into a necklace. So again, you can see how nice and neat it is on the back. Very sweet. So let me just move these little seed beads out of the way. So you can see what we're doing with the chain. So the next thing we need is this lovely little O-link chain. So I cut an 18-inch length of it, trimmed any little bits from where I was separating the links off the end. So what I want to do first is find the center point of this. And let's see, so that's right here. That's actually, it's actually nice if you can have one of the O-links as the center point here. So let me just double make sure that's, yep, there we go. Just pop that down there just so I can see where we're at. So then you need to take one of the little 4mm jump rings. I already opened these. Pop on the charm. And we're going to put it through the center link here, the O link. Perhaps I didn't open it far enough. Let's see. There we go. And close it up. Make sure it's nice and flush. I find the easiest way to figure out where you are going to put which side you're going to put the closure on is if you have the front of the pendant or whatever the piece is facing up, and then you're sort of laying the chain down as if you were going to be picking the piece up to fasten it around your neck. If you're right-handed, you would normally have the lobster or whatever the clasp is on the right-hand side. So that's where we're going to start with this one. So if you pick up one of the jump rings and open it, again, this one is already open, I think. So pop it onto the last link of the chain here and put the lobster closure on. And we'll close that up. Again, making sure that there's no gap in the jump ring. So that's on there. And then on this other end, we'll just put the second jump ring. Again, if you were left-handed, it's easy enough to see that you would put the lobster on this side. Just makes it easier, I find, and it's more comfortable if you don't have to fiddle around trying to figure out which side you want to put on. So there that jump ring is on. Fasten this up. And here we are. Ocean Treasure Necklace. I hope you have a go at doing this. I think it's a really pretty design using these centerline charms. And again, you could always make two of them up and have a pair of earrings, have a lovely matching set for something special. Use any colours that you want, any colours that inspire you, but there we go. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a like and make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. And as always, we love to hear from you. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.